Hi, you guys. If you are familiar with that sound, you know what that means. But if you aren't, when we were kids, if you heard that sound, you knew that a special presentation was about to happen. And today's episode 17, is extra special. Why, Michelle?
Because we have an extra special guest today in the form of Peter Isacksen, who is one of the stars of this week's episode.
I would say the star of this episode.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you. Most definitely. Their storyline was the most prominent, and he was pretty excellent at it.
Yeah, like the most enjoyable by far, in my opinion, and something that I remember vividly.
And I'll preface this by saying, like, maybe you don't know the name Peter Isacksen, but when you see him in this episode, you'll know who he is.
Yeah, he's immediately recognizable. I don't want to give away too much, but another show that we reference, you may have seen him on that. He will actually tell you that himself a little bit later. So yes, we have Peter Isacksen on the show as a very, very special guest. So we're super excited. Let's get into this. Let's do the storylines. Let's find our guests and let's set sail. Today we have Last of the Stubings by familiar name Michael Norrell. We have $1 Million Man by Steve Pritzker. And we have The Sisters by Ray Jessel. Michelle, I always hand it to you. Can you start off our guests?
Yes, our guests today are Peter Isacksen. He would be in Last of the Stubings.
Playing Courtney Stubing IV.
Yes, Captain Meryl Stubing's nephew. Then we have in The $1 Million Man, a name that I think is fantastic and should have been the character name, Frank Converse.
That is such a killer name.
Why didn't they use his real name?
I have no idea.
Way better than Bill Thompson.
Yeah, it's weird, but I guess you can't use your real name.
I know. And also starring in that series is Marcia Strassman. She played Stephanie Lewis, and you had better know her from Welcome Back, Kotter.
Yeah, Julie.
She played Mr. Cotter's wife. Side note, I was reading up on her, and I guess Farrah Fawcett, I think it was also up for the role of Julie, but they said that Mr. Cotter would never marry somebody like Farrah Fawcett, so they picked Julie. But I always thought Julie was really pretty when I was a kid.
Yeah, but she's just a little... Farrah Fawcett was like the epitome of glamour.
Yeah, but Julie was smart.
Oh, that makes more sense that is Gabe. Wasn't it Gabe? Wasn't his name Gabe?
Kaplan.
No, but what was his name in the show? Mr. Cotter? Wasn't it Gabe too? Was it Frank Converse?
Mr. Cotter.
All right, you don't have to do every single character. I love...
But so this is going to tie in later anyway,
yes,
so I'm glad that I brought it up.
And we love Welcome Back, Kotter too. I love that show. Until I think we've mentioned this already, where it jumped the shark with the country guy that showed up out of I don't know where. All right, kick it. Who else is on the show?
Then we move on to The Sisters, which is Pat Crowley as Noreen Badger, the go-getter businesswoman. Marion Ross plays her sister, Rose Higby. Also, side note, you would think that Marie McCormick was on The Love Boat the most because she's already been on 2 episodes this season. But in fact, Marion Ross is the one who's been on the most. 14 episodes
Way
total.
to go, Marion. You are the champion.
And then the other actor in this, the love interest, is Mr. Brett Halsey. He plays Clark Taylor. Internet Movie Database, in his biography, said he was one of Hollywood's busiest and most handsomest actors in the 50s and 60s.
The only tidbit of information I got on him is that he was in a movie called Roy Colt and Winchester Jack. Wait, he was in some other great things, though. He was in a bunch of good things.
That's why I was surprised in this episode, not to get ahead of ourselves. They hardly gave him any speaking lines.
Yeah, it's weird.
For the most handsomest actor of the 50s and the 60s.
Like, when you're that handsome, you don't really even need to speak.
Because you're not really listening to him. You're just staring into his blue eyes.
Yeah, you just give those steamy looks, and that's all you really need to do, and then you just collect your paycheck and you're out of there.
I guess so.
All right, that covers everything, right?
Correct.
All of our stars?
Yes, it does.
Now, Michelle?
Yes.
I always like to ask, like your perception of the show. I did love this episode. And honestly, I did love this because of Peter Isacksen. I mean, like this,
how amazing
the storyline
is that he was kind enough to
it's
give
crazy.
us some backstory to
No,
his
if you told me as a child
experience.
Yeah,
no, I know that you would be speaking to Peter
my
Isacksen.
head would have exploded.
Same.
Seriously. Like absolutely
Same.
no joke.
Holy smokes.
But also pairing him with Gavin MacLeod is so awesome. I can't stand it.
Oh, I know.
But I just want to say up front that the other storylines to me were so bonkers that like I started to feel like I was going crazy, particularly the one with Marcia Strassman is so crazy that like I was laughing in parts that I shouldn't have been laughing in.
So bizarre.
And I'm going to do my best to try and make sense of this, honestly. So like, where would you like to begin?
I think we should begin with Peter Isacksen.
Yeah. Again, when we first started watching these again, I mean, it just like totally, it was like an anvil on our heads because I'm like, oh my gosh, I remember this episode. I really like this one. So at the very beginning, Captain Merrill Stubing, he is excited. He is proud because his nephew, who is maybe the heir apparent, the next admiral of the family, he is going to be on the ship. And he is announcing this to the entire crew.
As you know, I don't usually call these pre-cruise meetings, but today is a very special day, a very happy day for me. For today, a future Admiral Dewey, a fledgling David Farragut, a budding Chester Nimitz begins his career at sea.
And who might that be, sir?
Courtney Stubing IV, my nephew, that's who.
He's taking the cruise, sir?
Well, more than that, he's working this cruise. His family managed to get him into Annapolis this fall, and we are all very proud of him.
Well, sir, what exactly will Midshipman Stubing be doing here on the Princess?
Everything. You'll like Courtney. He's a real Stubing.
Now, Captain Merrill Stubing is obviously very excited, as you can hear, that his nephew's about to come on. But Michelle, are we excited that Peter Isacksen is on the show right now?
Of course I am.
All right, so let's not wait another second. Let's let Peter introduce himself to you guys and give you some behind-the-scenes
tidbits.
Loving the Love Boat. Okay, you guys, this is for you. Thank you for the nice messages, by the way. This is Peter Isacksen, and I was lucky enough to play young Courtney Stubing many years ago. And I guess the first thing that jumps out at me is I was such a goofy, dumb actor when my agent said they'd like to book you on the Love Boat. First of all, Aaron Spelling paid more than anybody else, and I was working with Don Rickles, who took all the money on our show. So when I think I got either $7,500 or $10,000 for the week, I was like, yes. I didn't look at the script. I didn't read the script. And I said, where do I go? And they said, well, you go to, West Los Angeles. And I went, that's not San Pedro. I wonder if the ship leaves from West Los Angeles, because I'm like a goofball and I just had no idea. Well, little did I know that I go to 20th Century Fox and there is no boat, but there's a soundstage. I show up and walk into, meet a producer or hair and makeup or whatever my first day is. And everyone looks at me and says, oh my God, we've made a huge mistake. How tall are you? And I went, 6'6". Well, this role was written for one of the characters on Welcome Back, Kotter, who played Horshack, Ron Palillo, who's about 5'5", and probably would have played the hell out of it. So once they kind of wrapped their head around that they were stuck with me, that's where it started.
pretty cool.
Not shocking that
Aaron Spelling carries his suitcase with $1 million in it.
I was going to say it's not shocking that Don Rickles kept all the money.
Yeah, I guess it isn't.
How crazy is it that Ron Palillo was really up for this role? Because Julie from Welcome Back, Kotter was on it, so maybe that was done purposely. But then I can't even imagine Ron Palillo. As much as I like Ron Palillo, I cannot imagine him in this role.
You are literally stealing the thoughts from my mind. Because same thing, I love him. And Horshack is like, seriously, for any people like us who grew up when we did, one of my favorite characters, so iconic, you know, what he created. And I thought exactly the same thing. It's like this role would not have been not funny, like in the way that he made it funny.
Because, I mean, yes, he's very, very tall, but Ron Palillo kind of looks like the part. Like, it would have been just believable.
Yeah, that he's like...
It wouldn't have been funny.
Yeah.
It just wouldn't have worked. The physical humor would not have worked.
But the thing that I think is really striking, honestly, about his performance is that he really does bring like humanity to the character. You know, I think it's very believable that he's conflicted, you know? It isn't just clowny.
And he's kind of klutzy, which is believable with somebody that at that height.
Yeah, and he makes a very memorable entrance onto the boat.
Hi. Welcome aboard, sir. I'm the captain's uncle.
Pardon me?
Oh, what did I say? I mean, Captain Stubing's my nephew. Oh, no. Oh, you bicycle seat, dog dish, vegetable.
Hey, take it easy.
Did I leave out brain?
Don't worry about that, Courtney. I'm as excited as you are. Welcome aboard. This is a pleasure for me and a great honor for my crew. Well, Mr. Smith, enjoy him.
So, Courtney, why don't we just get right to work? Hey, have you got a nickname? Courtney's kind of formal.
A nickname?
Yeah, didn't they used to call you something in school?
Oh, yeah. Zip face.
One of the first things that Courtney Stubing is required to do is go help Isaac. And this is one of the funniest scenes, not just for the physical comedy, more so for how he reacts. So he's in the bar. Isaac lets him man the bar. He's flying solo
Pouring scotches.
and making me laugh hysterically.
Okay, Courtney, now I have to deliver this. Hold down the fort. If anybody orders a mixed drink, stall them.
You don't worry about a thing.
Yeah.
Hi.
Scotch, straight up.
Yes, sir. So, what are your problems?
Huh?
Your problems. I'm a bartender. Oh, you're supposed to tell me your problem.
I haven't got any problem.
Oh, come on. Don't you trust me? I mean, I bet you tell your regular bartender the problems. Or is it that I'm not sensitive enough? Well, let me tell you, I am sensitive, and I'm also understanding, and I'm sympathetic. Now tell me your problems or you don't get your drink.
Courtney, I'm sorry, sir. What's the problem?
He claims he doesn't have one.
So this scene is extra funny because he plays it perfectly. And the way that he's kind of getting irate with the person who comes to the bar, that's what makes me laugh a lot. You know, because it's not just awkwardness. It's like that it's really, really like super inappropriate. And that stuff is very funny and lands really, really hard as far as I'm concerned.
Mm-hmm.
Now we find out that the two sisters, they are living with one another.
Marion Ross.
Marion Ross has lost her husband, her dear husband, Fred.
Mm-hmm.
And they're on a cruise to kind of have some fun. And Marion's kind of the more freewheeling of the two, even though she's dealt with tragedy. And the other sister's kind of like straight-laced and very, like you said, consumed and focused on her career.
But I didn't understand her business.
She deals with teeth.
But she wasn't a dentist. She runs a dental lab.
I
don't know what a dental lab is.
I don't know.
Why couldn't she have just been a dentist?
Well, they were like in LA, so maybe it was some sort of like back then, like making your teeth like super like.
She made like dentures or something.
I don't know. Camera ready. Here's where Michelle goes into the sort of minutia of the love.
Dental lab was a weird. Hey, if anybody out there knows what a dental lab is, maybe it is the place that makes.
She was running a successful dental lab.
Right.
On La Brea. They have those there in Los Angeles.
Oh, I'm sure they have plenty of them.
Yeah. And
everybody needs a great smile in Hollywood.
So here's the thing. They encounter the handsome Clark Tyler. And he's kind of like immediately like zoned in. There is something in the sea air. Love does not wait even 1 second. You can't even get into your cabin before things start happening. And he's flirting with her, and she is just like not having it, the straight-laced sister. But Marion Ross is kind of watching like, hey, he's handsome. Why don't you get into this guy? And Marion Ross, you think, is going to be one serious wingman.
Maybe we'll run into him there. Who? That good-looking man we met in the lobby. I think he liked you.
Rose, for heaven's sakes, will you stop that? You and the rest of the family have been trying to marry me off as long as I can remember.
I'll bet you liked him, too.
Can't you get it through your head that I'm happy the way I am? We have a nice house that's paid for, and my business is doing well. And we don't have to take orders from some nitwit of a man.
They are not all nitwits.
All I need are my friends and lots of customers for my dental laboratory. No, you know what I need? I need people with bad teeth. And that's another reason I'm not interested in your good-looking man.
Why?
He has all his own teeth.
Michelle, who else is on this ship?
The wonderful Frank Converse. And I'm just going to call him Frank Converse. I don't like Bill Thompson. Marcia Strassman, Stephanie Lewis. I believe Stephanie comes on the ship.
With a broken arm.
Yeah, and I forget what she's looking for, but she dumps her whole purse
Her ticket.
out.
She doesn't have her ticket to
her
get
ticket.
on the ship.
That's pretty important. So she dumps her whole purse out on the counter, and Doc is there. And she finds her ticket. She's like, I'm going to put my stuff back in my purse. And so he holds her purse open like a bucket. She pours everything in. But yeah, one thing I noticed.
Yeah, I noticed it too.
It was the last thing she puts back into her purse. Was that birth control? Because that's what it looked like to me. Not that that's awesome, but it's just a strange point to make.
It absolutely was birth control. It was sitting on the counter the entire time.
Just because that was implying she's ready for a good time.
And I could not believe Doc didn't pick up on that and make some sort of lascivious joke about it, It's
just like a subtle...
It was crazy. So she shoves all her stuff back in there. And was the dude watching at this point?
Was he like not really in line, but he was standing behind her in Doc. And didn't he say something like, she's lovely?
Converse was creeping around, and it's like his character was so odd and so strange for almost the whole time, quite honestly. He goes back to his room, and he has like a child's suitcase.
With this tiny little lock.
His little plaid suitcase. So he doesn't really say anything because he's creeping around. And he's got like with the tiniest little lock and the outside of a suitcase that you could basically open with like a penknife that just happens to have what inside of it?
$1 million. Cash money.
So you don't know where this guy got this money yet, but there's something up with Frank Converse. And I don't even think he brought anything. I don't think he brought any other clothes. He just brought $1 million in a suitcase. Now, Michelle, when you bring your stolen $1 million, you put that in the little tiny closet in your cabin, right?
Correct.
And
you didn't put it in a safe or anything.
No, you just put it right up in your little closet next to your like complimentary robe.
It's got that like heavy duty little tiny lock on there so nobody will break
No
in
one's
and
getting
get
in
it.
there. Because as we've established, the doors are never locked on the Love Boat. And I still feel it's because it's like a swingers
the
cruise.
criminals from the previous episodes, the two-parter we're on, missed by like...
Please, let's not go back to episode 15.
really
Please,
missed
Michelle.
on a cruise of
that
$1
one
million.
almost killed me, honestly. I don't need to go back there. So he puts his money away, and then he heads down to the ship. And again, just at the right time to creep on this woman that he obviously has already fallen in love with. But did we already give it away of what Frank Converse is? We're not supposed to say.
No, we haven't said that. We just said he had $1 billion. You just gave it away.
No, I didn't. I didn't say what it was.
He's creeping at the top of the stairs watching the whole thing.
And then he just like rolls up on her, and then they get Isaac to introduce both of them.
Let's see now. You had one coffee, right?
Uh-huh. Drinks for everyone. On me. What's yours?
Nothing, thanks. I was just leaving.
Come on, you were an old man.
Who?
Me, I'm 83. Take good care of myself. 2 champagne cocktails.
Well, you really do take good care of yourself.
You know, my mother always told me never to have champagne with a man before 10. Unless, of course, we're introduced.
Isaac, you do the honors?
Sure, certainly.
Bill Thompson?
Bill Thompson.
Stephanie Lewis.
Stephanie Lewis.
Nice to meet you, Stephanie.
Nice to meet you, brother.
Listen, I'll go get the champagne cocktail.
Meanwhile, while they are chatting up and getting to know each other, Marion Ross and her sister are winning big at the slots.
They won like $57.
And it was 2 cups full of change.
Yeah. I would be excited to win.
So they head into the bar for an afternoon cocktail.
Of orangeade, whatever that is.
That's, I think, not even a drink.
No, that's like, I'm not drinking today. And the other woman got like a scotch or something like that.
Scotch on the rocks, maybe. She's
so
heavy duty. She's a businesswoman.
Yeah. So they sit down and they sit in our favorite spot because it has the cool groovy candle holder in front of them that we both like. And then this other dude rolls up on them.
Mr. Tyler, what are you drinking? Nothing now, thanks.
Ignore him.
It's too late. He's coming over.
Why did you lead him on like that?
Maybe.
Hello. Clark Tyler, may I have the pleasure?
Please,
Certainly
do.
not.
Please. I'm Rose. Don't mind Noreen. She thinks you're after her money.
Oh, a gambling lady. Now, what's your pleasure?
To be left alone.
Oh, that's ridiculous. You know, cruises are to meet people. You're the nicest people I've met all day.
Oh? How do you know we're so nice?
By your eyes.
Mm-hmm. I go by teeth myself. I never trust a man whose caps are too perfect.
Does that mean you don't trust me?
Those are original equipment.
The blue-eyed Brett Halsey slips into the table.
Yeah.
Starts speaking with Noreen Badger about how pretty she is. And
at this point, though,
she's resistant.
She still is, but like Marion Ross is still in the role of wingman, right? She's
Correct.
still trying to make this happen. Like, don't be such a square. You go out there and have a good time.
Right. She's pushing her to go off with this guy and hang out.
He was persistent, and he was being charming. Oh, because he built the building that she does her dental.
What a coincidence that her dental lab is housed in.
The Love Boat is like the.
What a coincidence.
Oh, there are so many like coinkydinks like all the
architect.
time. Yeah, so he promised that he would fix the floor like himself. He'd put on some overalls and go fix the floor as soon as they docked. He couldn't stand the idea of a saggy floor and a pretty face or whatever it was. And that finally started to break the ice.
It's true.
Yeah, it started to work.
She started to soften up to his advances.
Yes. Now, we talked about one of my favorite scenes involving Peter Isacksen at the bar. And Michelle was actually, during the last clip, was wondering aloud how they made the straws. You can't see it in the clip, but how the straws went flying across. And I told her I didn't think it was anything other than what he had done. His physical abilities were on full display, and he did it flawlessly. And it seems as if he did it without any real trouble. But as it turns out, that wasn't the case.
So to say that I had a difficult week is putting it so mildly, because it was my first film television show. And as I learned throughout my career doing many of these, that it's like, get in, get the master, get 2 close-ups, and get out. And so I had a lot of physical business to do, like the scene at the bar with Isaac, who I love. And I had Marion Ross around that week, who I knew and I loved. And I just couldn't get the physical action and the words at the same time. And there was a grizzled older director who had no patience for this young, dumb, big, stupid moose that was screwing everything up. And that would have been me. And it was a hard week because I had a lot of lines, and you kind of come in, you get 1 or 2 takes. But I did it, and somehow it cut together. And I think the difference of kind of a non-type casting, which is very non-television, really worked. And I get so much attention from it. I've been producing shows in Egypt for Netflix and Discovery in the last year. And Dr. Zahi Hawass, who is a big archaeologist, does lectures. And at the end of his lecture, he says, "Peter, you have to come up and tell the story. Everyone wants to know the story." And I walk up, and all the American tourists go, "Oh, we love that episode of the Love Boat." So I don't know why. I just am happy that anyone remembers, and I thank you guys all for that. One little Aaron Spelling story to come.
I'm surprised to hear that it was difficult for him to do like some of these scenes and the physical humor, but it might be if you have a cranky director.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think
he did all of it very well, I thought.
Well, I mean, imagine like if you're just showing up, right? Like he said earlier, like he did not read the script. So I don't even think he really knew what was going to be required of him. And then all of a sudden you show up and you realize that you're going to have to do these super physical things, pretty specific physical things. And he did have, like he was saying, like a lot of lines, you know? So you're trying to really like deliver those more than anything else, but then you have to combine those 2 things. Right. Yeah, and if you have like someone's like, "We got to get this done," some guy with a big cigar in his mouth, like, "I'm gonna kill this kid if he doesn't get it right." Yeah, so it's just like then you would be in your head the whole time and like, "Oh, I got to get this. I would have been freaking out, like seriously. And that's when you don't do things well, but you would never know it from this because it didn't feel like that at all.
We should probably move along with his storyline, though, because not all is well. Not only is he a klutz and having difficulty doing all these doing all these chores or positions. So there's also one where he's serving drinks on the. Oh no! Remember when they're at the pool?
I do.
And Julie is like kind of just walking around, making sure people have things that they need. And what?
You sounded like United States. Like, "Hey, Martha Ray, are your dentures falling out?"
Maybe I need to go to the dental lab to get a new set of teeth.
well, watch the sagging floor because you're going to fall right through the bottom. No, it's just like, yeah, he's screwed up that part too. That one was minor. It was pretty funny, but it's like she's, offering pillows to people like she's some sort of like stewardess on an airplane, and then he tries and does it, and he just has no like rapport with people.
No,
you know what I mean?
He's getting frustrated as he does it. As we later find out, there's a reason behind all this failure.
Come in.
Courtney, we want to talk to you.
It wasn't my fault. I swear I didn't know that would happen if I pulled that lever.
What lever?
Never mind, Courtney. We don't want to know.
Courtney, there are certain things you're going to have to learn if you want a career at sea.
Oh, you guys. Haven't you guessed it by now? I don't want a career at sea. I hate the sea. I hate ships.
Well, Courtney, have you told your father and your uncle and all those other captains and admirals that?
Are you kidding? I'm the last of the Stubings. I've got 3 sisters that live in communes and make candles. I've got to go to sea.
Courtney, it's your life, not your family's.
Tell them that.
Oh, come on, Courtney. I'll bet if you wanted to be a lawyer, they'd be just as proud of you.
What do you want to do?
If I tell you, you'll laugh. Yes, you will.
No, we promise. Now, come on. What could possibly be that awful?
This.
You want to sell children's pantyhose?
That's a leotard.
Yeah. I want to be a ballet dancer. I may be a lousy sailor, but I'm going to be one hell of a ballet dancer.
You're really serious, aren't you?
Yeah. I practice every morning at 5 o'clock on a Lido deck.
Well, good for you.
Courtney, if you want to be a ballet dancer, that's what you should be.
Right. Jump in with both feet.
Courtney, we're with you all the way.
Thanks. Glad you guys understand. Now I have to tell my father and my uncle. They're going to kill me. First of the Stubings to be buried at sea. Alive.
Who'd have thunk a 6'6" fella would want to be into ballet dancing? It's an interesting plot twist.
It was. I mean, it is pretty funny. And that's where Gopher was funny, too, because he just full on laughs at him when he finds out that that's what he wants to do. But that's why that is all very funny, because Peter stays completely in character. And that's where I think, honestly, he brings a lot of humanity to that role, which is super clowny. And they have him in like a ridiculous scenario, which is just ripe for laughing at a big person.
Absolutely.
That is what sells this stuff, honestly. It's like these people's performances and that they're committed to those things,
But he was good at it.
No, that's what I'm saying.
When Julie brings Captain Merrill Stubing later to see him dancing in the morning, he actually looks good doing the moves in the pool area.
He was doing pretty good, like that thing where you do the
kicks.
Yeah, the little feet going like really fast in between. I couldn't do that.
No, he looked good in his leg warmers and leotard.
He looked pretty limber.
Yeah.
Did you see that? Where
he was stretching on the bar.
I was impressed.
Good for a 6'6" fella.
I was totally impressed. Yeah, it was really good.
That's for sure.
Oh, dude, did you see the one guy in the bar?
Yes, yes, I know who you're talking about. He had like a turtleneck on and a little mustache and a cigarette.
He looked like a French assassin. It's like, why did they put that man in the bar?
I forgot about that, but I totally know exactly who you're talking about.
He looked like a criminal, and it was just like he's sitting there silently smoking a cigarette. It was
weird.
Oh, it was amazing.
Placement of an extra.
They really have some of the greatest, like extra people on there that just steal the show without even saying
Aaron
what.
Spelling's friend. Hey, Aaron, can you put me in just one scene?
Yeah. Oh my God, it was so great.
I totally noticed that guy too, and I was like, wow. I wish he had a speaking role.
No, hang on, because love is blooming all over this ship.
Oh,
Michelle.
yes, my goodness, we are just not even spending any time on the $1 million man.
This is it. All right, so we know that he's got a ton of money. They have hit it off. Him and Julie. Mrs. Cotter was cheating on Mr.
After
Cotter.
some champagne cocktails.
They go to like the casino night on the ship, and he plays like her birthday.
Oh, that's right.
And totally hits. This guy's on a roll. And then it's like they want to celebrate, and she says, let's do the oldest way to celebrate, and he takes it as a, you know what I mean?
Aren't they dancing first on the pool where sad Marion Ross is watching?
Nursing another orangeade to drown her sorrows. Oh, and then we're blowing that too, because we haven't even mentioned, because she's kind of like, she's having a change of heart after being the wing woman. Hang on. these guys just straight up hook up, right?
Correct.
But they made the mistake of going to his cabin, I guess, ultimately, because they totally do it. And then, like,
Thank God she had that birth control.
yeah, that's true. And then they are like, they're just falling in love, like immediately. And at least they kind of address the fact, like, this is crazy. We just met one another, but no, then they say, but who cares? We're in love. And then he had been mentioning that he had lost his job. He tells her not to worry about money, and then just completely
spills the beans. Like, why would you do that?
I don't.
Why would you confess to stealing money from your company to somebody you've only known for like 48 hours?
Like, he goes to the little closet. He gets his little junior suitcase out. He gets his little teeny tiny keys that came with the suitcase.
I took out, like, I cashed out my IRA or my 401k or.
I guess you really want to start a relationship with honesty.
Yes.
Do you know why
Julie?
Julie?
Rio de Janeiro.
Oh yeah, did he say that? He did say you want to go to Rio with me.
Yeah, because that's where he was headed to take a cruise ship to Rio.
I can't just up and go to Rio. I have 2 books checked out of the library. I have to have my tires rotated. My bowling league is expecting me back. You are serious, aren't you?
But like, yeah, he's like, come to Rio with me. She's like, how are we going to do this? How are you going to collect unemployment in Rio? And then he does. He gets his little suitcase out and he unzips it and then shows her all the fake money and then full on admits that he stole the money. And then why is Julie so good at skeet shooting or whatever it's called, Michelle?
Because she's part of the LAPD.
She's the fuzz, you guys.
She pulls out her badge.
Yeah, her cool badge. Like, it was an awesome badge. And he gets up and looks at it to see if it was just like a novelty badge. And he never seems upset.
No.
I don't know if anyone is understanding how weird all this was to me, but like all of these reveals and stuff were just totally insane. And it was rope-a-doping me because I was not... This like an M. Night Shyamalan kind of a storyline because this one gets even crazier as it goes along.
When he dumps the money on her?
Yeah, that's after, which is... Was that making you gross out?
Yeah, I was thinking of all the germs from all that money because my mom always said money had germs on it.
Yeah, it's like touched by so many people. Can you imagine? He just dumps it all over her. Oh, it's so disgusting. Hang on. They have had sex. They have pledged their love to one another. Then they kind of like doubt their love. Then they're, no, we're in love. Let's go to Rio. No, how are you going to get a job? I stole $1 million. And then he dumps it on her head. All in 3 minutes or something.
And she's a cop.
It's crazy. I don't know if Marion Ross had a seance where she talked to her dead husband, Fred, because some kind of weird change takes place with her at this point where she has gone from like enthusiastic and like really kind of like pushing her sister to like go be with a man, go meet a man, to where now she's starting to become completely annoyed by this guy.
I don't think she thought it through. Like she didn't realize that, I'll be alone. A, I'll be alone on this cruise. B, I'll be alone again forever. So then she was like, whoa, what did I do? Pushing her towards this blue-eyed stranger. And then she is alone the whole cruise because then her sister doesn't come home that night.
Oh, there you are. I've been looking all over for you. I've got the most incredible thing to tell you.
What? That you were out all night?
No. Clark asked me to marry him.
I see. Well, aren't you happy for me? Have you lost your senses? You hardly know the man. Rose, don't tell me you're seriously considering marrying him.
I don't understand. I thought you always said you wanted me to get married.
Well, I do, but marriage isn't something you jump into with a total stranger. Noreen, you have been a spinster all your life. You are an easy mark for any man who smiles at you. I hope you don't mind my saying this, but you are acting like a fool.
I like too when she called for his room number. She didn't even give it. Like, how did they look it up so fast? They don't have computers back then. She's like, give me the room of Mr. whatever, Chuck Taylor. And then, okay, bye. Like, it was like 2 seconds. And she got his room number.
She's like running down the hall.
I know, like she's her sister
to jump in
murdered.
between the two of them.
But then what happens when she gets there? The do not disturb sign is on. She thought about bothering them.
Yeah, you're really giving me some things to think about, Michelle. I guess because of that character always being so resistant to men, I guess Marion never thought that it would ever really happen. And then it started to happen, and she just, like you said, wasn't prepared.
Absolutely.
So she was frantic, ready to just like completely like bang the door down. But she doesn't. I thought she was going to. I thought she was going to start knocking on the door, but
I
she
did
didn't.
too. Well, she thought about it. She motioned to do it, but then she thought twice and...
Mrs. C didn't do it. She didn't.
Hey.
Oh, what was that? Was that your Fonz? Wow. Pretty
Oh,
good.
which reminds me.
Oh, no. Here we go.
When Captain Stubing finds out about Courtney's ballet dancing, what he was having trouble saying. What was he having trouble saying? Ballet?
Who?
Captain Stubing.
Oh, yeah, like Fonzie
Like
when he would say
Fonzie,
love.
like I'm bringing. Yeah. That was good. Fonzie couldn't say love.
Yeah, he couldn't say ballet.
Couldn't say ballet, and I thought that was really weird.
I love that stuff too.
Me too.
I love it. I love it so much. I love those types of things. They are funny.
No nephew of mine would be a ballet dancer.
Well, see, now this is the thing, that they do this really well. And Julie was so good. Like, Lauren Tews was so good in
Yes,
this.
she was.
They really pick people that are so good to help a scene along and to kind of give it like...
She's really caring and...
Like, what is it called? Expedition or I don't even know. Like, it just... She did a great job of kind of being like sort of like the translator of what was happening, because this was the first that Merrill is seeing that his nephew...
Julie's younger, so, she understands where Captain Merrill Stubing isn't old.
Yeah. Well, it's also because you would understand that these are the things that are, as funny as it sounds, they do deal with topics that are real. You know what I mean? Like a family having expectations of you. They just obviously do it in these like larger than life sitcom-y, ways. But like that is something that there's a lot of pressure on you. Earlier, he said that his three sisters were in communes making candles. So it's like he's the only male, heir of the family. They're this very serious seagoing family. And that's a tradition. So there's all this pressure on you. And that's a lot to live up to. A lot of people live in situations that they don't want to be in.
Absolutely.
But it's really funny because you think like, oh, maybe he is good, but he's not a good dancer.
No.
And that makes it really funny. But shortly after that, they have like an actual real dust up.
That boy can't dance at all.
Well, I don't mean to say that he's going to make people forget Nora yet.
He's not ready to watch Nora yet. Courtney! Courtney, what were you doing?
Dancing. It's in my blood.
Wrong. And wrong. Now take those ridiculous pantyhose off, dry off, and be on the bridge at 0800 hours. Is that clear?
I don't think so, Uncle Merrill. I don't want to be a sailor. I'm not even nautical.
You do want to be a sailor, and you will be on the bridge at 0800 hours.
No. I hate the sea. And I hate ships. I'm not too keen about you either.
Like I was saying before, Michelle, it's like, I think Peter does such an amazing job on this. And I mean, knowing what we know now, that he really kind of walked into this blind, that he embodied this character and he brought all of this sort of like feeling,
Absolutely.
to what is really meant to be just comic relief. But he really did bring sort of that heart to the character that is really believable. Like as if they were like, uncle and nephew. Quite honestly, I felt like was like a real thing. The way that he talks to him is pretty legitimate, I think.
They did have a good connection, for sure.
Amazing that on one part of the ship, a 6'6" man can be ballet dancing, yet a police officer with a broken arm can be completely oblivious to that and worried that her perp/lover has fled to Rio de Janeiro.
Darling, I love you, but I've been planning this for a long time. If you're ever in Rio, look me up. Love, Bill.
But in reality,
he's back.
M. Night Shyamalan.
He just kind of shows up. Like, was it the next day? I can't remember the timeline now.
He
But
just is back all of a sudden. Like, he should have just left. I would have left. I would have fled with my $1 million.
But his love conquers all.
That is insane.
Even $1 million.
He came back.
Doesn't he say he's going to turn himself in?
You know what? This is where it just completely, like, I think I had to lay down for a moment because I couldn't even handle what was taking place. Yeah, is saying that he is going to now, pay the price for the crime that he has committed. And I think he made a huge mistake, quite honestly.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. He really doesn't.
Yeah, and they both just lament, just real quickly.
Why did you have to turn out to be a cop?
Why did you have to turn out to be a crook?
Exactly. Why a crook? Because she's a police officer. At that point, there's got to be some kind of ramifications for her behavior on the ship with him.
Why, though? She didn't know. What did she do wrong? She arrested him.
She didn't do anything.
She arrested him.
She didn't. He said she couldn't because they were out to sea or whatever.
No, but she said she said he was a I don't know the law exactly. I mean, like,
Yeah, or fleeing criminal or whatever.
I've never stolen $1 million, but it's like, yeah, she said a fleeing criminal. So maybe like you'd have to be on international waters, commit a crime, and then it's like then you can get away with it.
So
but if
whatever. But she's still pursuing him as a love interest at the same time, which is crazy.
Well, no, it is not. I think you know that every single serial killer on this planet has had women who have fallen in love with them. It's a very common practice. It's guys, there's really no downside. There's always a lady out there for you, no matter what heinous crime you commit.
I guess because it's a blue-collar crime. He didn't murder anybody. White-collar crime, sorry.
Blue-collar crime.
I meant to say white-collar crime.
United States.
It's a white-collar crime, so go to jail for a few years. She'll be waiting.
The thing that you need to talk about right now is it gets even crazier. Let's wrap these two up because they literally broke my brain because
it's a bank holiday.
She gives him an out. He had an out by he could have gone to Rio and just stayed there. But then she even gives him an out. She's like, it's a weekend. It's a holiday weekend. No one knows that you stole the money from whatever. They have just $1 million laying around at their brokerage firm. And then it's just like, you can just put it back. And I would have said, you're right.
I would have too. I'd been like, hell yeah, I'm taking that money back. Right
Nobody
when
knows.
We get to port.
And then he says no.
Why?
Don't know. It's insanity. He's going to go back, tell them that he stole the money, and then hopefully they'll be lenient on him. That's
highly
his hope.
Unlikely they're going to be lenient on him.
I hope he's still in jail now. I hope he is still in jail. I hope that like maybe she came to visit him, but then in reality she found some other criminal that she fell in love with, and he realizes the huge mistake that he made in his life because that was absolutely insane.
It really was.
I wish Marion Ross came up and threw some orangeade right in his face after that. Like, are you an idiot? Speaking of Marion Ross.
Correct.
The way they wrapped those guys up was also kind of bonkers, don't you think?
Yes, because all of a sudden she's getting married.
So like Clark, he's a good guy and he's in for the long haul, even though they've known each other for 4.5 minutes. He is so in love that he has a moment with, what's her name? I forget her name.
Noreen Badger.
You see, it just wouldn't work out.
Nonsense.
I'm too independent.
But that's what I love about you, Noreen.
We hardly know each other. Marriage isn't something you just rush into. Oh, I've been acting like a silly fool.
It's Rose, isn't it?
I can't leave her. I'm all she's got in the world. She needs me.
You're a good woman, Noreen. I want you to know that if you should ever change your mind, I'll be waiting.
I love you.
I love you.
But this sister's so nice that she listens, right?
Yeah, and she does not accept his offer.
But Clark, he's
but
undaunted.
Why couldn't they have just gone back to Los Angeles and just dated? Why did they have to get married? Why? I'll be waiting for you. Why couldn't they just have dated until...
That may be the most ridiculous thing you've ever said. Have you been watching The Love Boat, Michelle?
I know, but...
You are the one who has pointed out to our listeners that you have to get married once you're on The Love Boat.
I understand. Well, yes, I do. I do point that out quite regularly, and that is...
Whatever Isaac's putting in the drinks. Again, I've mentioned the sea air. The weird murderer-looking band as they play those intoxicating disco rhythms.
It's like, like Fantasy Island always came on afterwards. There's some kind of weird
magic
happening on the Love Boat.
That's why I want to watch Fantasy Island so bad because the magic element of Fantasy Island is so amazing to me.
Peter Isacksen said he was in 6 episodes.
7
episodes.
No, we got to see. That's the thing. Oh, let's not get on our Fantasy Island kick because then we'll never end. We want to watch so badly.
In the end, though, everything always works out because it does. Marion comes to her senses.
I really did actually kind of appreciate this one because she says something very, very kind and very sweet. And then you see like this nice relationship between...
Or she said she had love with Fred and that it was time for her sister to have love.
This will be perfect in the living room. We'll put it on the mantel.
Noreen, sit down a minute. I've been thinking about the way you've looked the last couple of days. It's not your usual look. And I know that look. The way I looked when I first met Fred.
It's all over.
Don't stop me. I've been selfish. I was only thinking about myself. You love Clark, don't you? Well, I've had my love. And you must have yours.
I couldn't leave you, Rose. You'd be alone.
In a way, I have been alone ever since Fred died. Oh, I know what Clark must mean to you. If you really love him.
Oh, I do.
Well, then go to him.
So when she said how she looked, she hadn't seen her look like that. You know what I mean? And that she finally had a moment to herself. And I think, honestly, everybody, if you think, has had moments that they're not very proud of where they've acted badly and it's all based on emotion and your own personal hurt. And like I said, this is the stuff about the Love Boat that made me laugh at myself of like, I am very moved by these Love Boat episodes. And it really is true that she loved her sister and she saw that this was her sister's chance at happiness. And she did come to her senses then at that point and then gave her a blessing. And thank God, right, Michelle, that Clark is such a good guy.
He offered to give Marion Ross a place at his guest house.
I wrote that down.
Yeah.
But then she, with the M. Night Shyamalan, no, I'm not going to live in the guest house.
Why wouldn't you live in the guest house?
She said that she was just going to take over the business. Then all of a sudden, I'll do the business.
Why? Because that's what I thought was weird too. She couldn't be married and run her business. She'd have knock out some kids right away.
That's what happens in 1977. The woman gets in the kitchen and you don't work a job anymore.
I'm getting married. I have to give up my dental lab.
Why couldn't Julie, Mr. Cotter's wife, just give up being a police officer and be a criminal then? You know, they get married and then they both become criminals like a Bonnie and Clyde. Yeah, so like...
That made no sense to me.
It was wild. It was seriously wild. The endings of all this were totally wild as far as those guys are concerned.
I would take the guest house.
Now, you guys, our final destination...
And special guest of this entire episode.
Mr. Peter Isacksen.
Julie goes to his cabin to check up on him, and he is upset with himself for the way he treated his uncle. And Julie and him have a little bit of a talk, and then the captain shows up, and they kind of talk it out.
Courtney, you didn't show up on the bridge.
Captain.
I can handle it, Miss McCoy.
I just wanted to say...
Thank you.
I'm sorry I said those things to you, Uncle Merrill. But don't worry, I'm going to make it up to you. I'm going to watch you command this ship, and I'm going to go to Annapolis, and I'm going to work tremendously hard. And
Courtney, I want you to answer a question. Do you really hate the sea?
Worse than lima beans or liver.
Why didn't you tell me?
I didn't think you'd understand.
I understand. My parents tried to make me be a surgeon. No way. I faint if they serve me a rare steak. Courtney, my boy, you've got to love what you're doing in life if you want to be happy. So you do what you want to do.
Thanks, Uncle Merrill. You're terrific.
Courtney, you're a horrible dancer.
And the Courtney Merrill moment was a really nice moment, I thought.
I thought so too.
Because, like, again, the thing that the Love Boat does amazing, in my opinion, is they will take a moment like that. And I really, truly don't. It's why I've said I'd never liked soap operas and stuff, because they're too heavy-handed and too serious. And they always throw in some bit of humor that I think is is genuinely funny.
Mhm.
And when he says the thing, "You're a terrible dancer," because he's doing it like in a way that's earnest, not making fun of him. And just the way that Gavin MacLeod delivers a line is just, I mean, we've said it 100 times. It's just kind of the best.
Yes, it is.
And he does it so great. But again, Peter Isacksen it's so believable that he's conflicted, he's hurt, and he wants to make his uncle proud. And he does it so well. You know what I mean? And being a big guy like that, where you normally like larger people are always like, aggressive or violent, and it's about strength and things like that, that he shows true vulnerability, I think is really powerful. Like, again, I could not imagine the role going to somebody else and being anywhere near as fun to watch or compelling to watch, quite honestly,
I agree. And even at the very, very end, when he's leaving the ship, a bit of physical humor where he bumps into the sign with his
So
head because
good.
he's very tall. I don't think Ron Palillo could have done that.
No.
And
Well, he's a great, he's a
I
very,
guess he would have just tripped or fallen. But anyway, even at the end, they ended it on a funny little cute note.
I think Peter did just like an astounding job in this role.
Oh, yeah. And as you're about to hear him explain in his final clip, you could see why Aaron Spelling liked to use him.
So over my years as an actor, I worked for Mr. Spelling a lot. I did 7 Fantasy Islands. I did Matt Houston because he wanted me to be a bad guy. And he just became kind of this mentor figure. And for some reason, we hit it off. He liked what I did, and of course, I loved his shows. So I was doing a show one time, and I'm watching the scene being played out, I believe at Santa Anita Racetrack, and I kind of felt someone next to me. And I look down, of course, and it's Mr. Spelling. So I said, "Hi, Mr. Spelling." He said, "Hi, Peter." And then we're watching the action, and he said to me, "Do you know why I hire you?" And I said, "No, Mr. Spelling, but I'm really glad you do." He said, "Well, thank you, but I don't like actors that chew gum or smoke cigarettes because it's a device, and it means they're not really acting, and they're doing something to play act, and you don't do that. You're just pure. You just get in the character and do it." I have never forgotten that story from Aaron Spelling, and he was a true producer.
Yeah, that is so cool. And honestly, I could not agree more. I can see why he liked to work with Peter. And I really want to see those Fantasy Island episodes
I do
really
too
bad.
now. I'm gonna
Really
wait for
bad.
them.
I would just like to thank Peter Isacksen.
What a wonderful treat. What a nice surprise to have him give us his time and some wonderful stories.
Yeah, the insight to the show, so gracious, so incredible. And honestly, yeah, like a thrill for us. So we want to thank Peter again.
He also has an Instagram.
Yes. We're following him on Instagram. Follow him too. And again, Peter, thank you so much. We hope you guys enjoyed that. We could not wait for episode 17. We were so excited. So hope you guys enjoyed this one.
I hope $1 million rains on you.
But guys, stay in Rio if you get that $1 million. Do not come back. All right. All right. So until next time, I am Istvan.
I'm Michelle.
Captain Stubing, please come to the bridge.
And we are Lovin' the Love Boat. Hey everybody, it's Istvan, and I'd like to thank you all for tuning in and listening to the podcast. And I want to encourage everyone to follow our Instagram as well as the star of this episode, Peter Isacksen. You can search his name up at PeterIsacksen. And of course, we are at lovin_the_love_boat. And before I shove off, we'd also love for everyone to consider supporting the show at my Venmo, which you can find in the description, or @ ISTVANSONGS, or even PayPal, which is same, at ISTVANSONGS@gmail.com. Thanks, you guys, for keeping us afloat.